The second chapter, Animal Landry. It happened one day that the doctor was sitting in his kitchen, talking with the cat's meat man who had come to see him with a stomachache. "Why don't you give up being a people's doctor and be an animal doctor?" asked the cat's meat man. The parrot, Polynesia, was sitting in the window, looking out at the rain and singing a sailor song to herself. She stopped singing and started to listen. "You see, doctor," the cat's meat man went on, "you know all about animals, much more than what does her words to. That book you wrote about cats, why, it's wonderful. I can't read or write myself, or maybe I'd write some books. But my wife, Theodosia, she's a Schuler, she is, and she read your book to me. Well, it's wonderful. That's all can be said. Wonderful. You might have been a cat yourself. You know the way they think. And listen, you can make a lot of money doctoring animals. Do you know that? You see, I'd send all the old women who had sick cats or dogs to you, and if they didn't get sick fast enough, I could put something in the meat I sold them to make them sick. See?" "Oh no," sighed the doctor quickly. "You mustn't do that. That wouldn't be right." "Oh, I didn't mean real sick," answered the cat's meat man. "Just a little something to make them droopy like was what I had reference to. But as you say, maybe it ain't quite fair on the animals. But they'll get sick anyway, because the old woman always give them too much to eat. And look, all the farmers around about who had lamb, horses and weak lambs, they'll come. Be an animal doctor." When the cat's meat man had gone, the parrot flew on the window onto the doctor's table and said, "That's man's good sense. That's what you ought to do. Be an animal doctor. Give the silly people up. If they haven't brains enough to see you're the best doctor in the world, take care of animals instead. They'll soon find it out. Be an animal doctor." "Oh, there are plenty of animals, doctor," sighed Dolittle, putting the flower pots outside on the window-sill to get the rain. "Yes, there are plenty," sighed Polynesia, "but none of them are any good at all. Now listen, doctor, and I'll tell you something. Did you know that animals can talk?" "I know the parrots can talk," sighed the doctor. "Oh, we parrots can talk in two languages, people language and bird language," said Polynesia proudly. "If I say, 'Polly wants a cracker,' you understand me. But hear this, Kaka-o-e-fi-fi." "Oh, good gracious!" cried the doctor. "What does that mean?" "That means, is the porridge hot yet?" in bird language. "My, you don't see so," said the doctor. "You never talked that way to me before." "What would have been the good?" said Polynesia, dusting some cracker crumbs off her left wing. "You wouldn't have understood me if I had." "Tell me some more," said the doctor, all excited, and he rushed over to the dresser drawer and came back with the butcher's book and a pencil. "Now don't go too fast, and I'll write it down. This is interesting, very interesting, something quite new. Give me the birds ABC, first slowly now." So that was the way the doctor came to know that animals had a language of their own and could talk to one another. And all the afternoon, while it was raining, Polynesia sat on the kitchen table giving him birds' words to put down in the book. At tea time, when the dog Jip came in, the parrot said to the doctor, "See, he's talking to you." "Looks to me as though he were scratching his ear," said the doctor. "But animals don't always speak with their mouths," said the parrot in a high voice, raising her eyebrows. "They talk with their ears, with their feet, with their tails, with everything. Sometimes they don't want to make a noise. Do you see now the way he's twitching up one side of his nose?" "What's that mean?" asked the doctor. "That means, can't you see that it has stopped raining?" Polynesia answered. "He's asking you a question. Dogs nearly always use their noses for asking questions." After a while, with the parrot's help, the doctor got to learn the language of the animals so well that he could talk to them himself and understand everything they said. Then he gave up being a people's doctor altogether. As soon as the cat's meat man had told every one that John Dolittle was going to become an animal doctor, old ladies began to bring him their pet pugs and poodles who had eaten too much cake, and farmers came many miles to show him sick cows and sheep. One day a plough horse was brought to him, and the poor thing was terribly glad to find a man who could talk in horse language. "You know, doctor," said the horse, "that vet over the hill knows nothing at all. He has been treating me 6 weeks now for spavins. What I need is spectacles. I'm going blind in one eye. There's no reason why horses shouldn't wear glasses, the same as people. But that stupid man over the hill never even looked at my eyes. He kept on giving me big pills. I tried to tell him, but he couldn't understand a word of horse language. What I need is spectacles." Of course," said the doctor. "I'll get you some at once." "I would like a pair like yours," said the horse, "only green. They'll keep the sun out of my eyes while I'm plowing the 50-acre field." "Certainly," said the doctor. "Green ones you shall have." "You know the trouble is, sir," said the plough horse as the doctor opened the front door to let him out. "The trouble is that anybody thinks he can doctor animals, just because the animals don't complain. As a matter of fact, it takes a much cleverer man to be a really good animal doctor than it does to be a good people's doctor. My farmer's boy thinks he knows all about horses. I wish you could see him. His face is so fat he looks as though he had no eyes, and he has got as much brain as a potato bag. He tried to put a mustard plaster on me last week." "Where did he put it?" asked the doctor. "Oh, he didn't put it anywhere on me," said the horse. "He only tried to. I kicked him into the duck pond." Well," said the doctor. "I'm a pretty quiet creature as a rule," said the horse. "Very patient with people, don't make much fuss. But it was bad enough to have the vet giving me the wrong medicine, and when that red-faced booby started to monkey with me, I just couldn't bear it any more." "Did you hurt the boy much?" asked the doctor. "Oh no," said the horse. "I kicked him in the right place. The vet's looking after him now." "When will my glasses be ready?" "I'll have them for you next week," said the doctor. "Come in again Tuesday. Good morning." The John Dolittle got a fine big pair of green spectacles, and the plough horse stopped going blind in one eye and could see as well as ever. And soon It became a common sight to see farm animals wearing glasses in the country round Puddleby, and a blind horse was a thing unknown. And so it was with all the other animals that were brought to him. As soon as they found that he could talk their language, they told him where the pain was and how they felt, and of course it was easy for him to cure them. Now all these animals went back and told their brothers and friends that there was a doctor in the little house with the big garden who really was a doctor, and whenever any creatures got sick, not only horses and cows and dogs, but all the little things of the fields, like harvest mice and water voles, badgers and bats, they came at once to his house off the edge of the town, so that his big garden was nearly always crowded with animals trying to get in to see him. There were so many that came that he had to have special doors made for the different kinds. He wrote horses over the front door, cows over the side doors, and sheep on the kitchen door. Each kind of animal had a separate door. Even the mice had a tiny tunnel made for them into the cellar, where they waited patiently in rows for the doctor to come round to them. And so, in a 5 years' time, every living thing, for mice and mice, got to know about Dolittle, MD, and the birds who flew to other countries in the winter told the animals in foreign lands of the wonderful doctor of Puddleby on the marsh, who could understand their talk and help them in their troubles. In this way, he became famous among the animals all over the world, better known even that he had been among the folks of the West Country, and he was happy and liked his life very much. One afternoon, when the doctor was busy writing in a book, Polynesia sat in the window, as she nearly always did, looking out at the leaves blowing about in the garden. Presently she laughed aloud. "What is it, Polynesia?" asked the doctor, looking up from his book. "I was just thinking," said the parrot, and she went on looking at the leaves. "What were you thinking?" "I was thinking about people," said Polynesia. "People make me sick. They think they're so wonderful. The world has been going on now for thousands of years, hasn't it? And the only thing in animal language that people have learned to understand is that when a dog wags his tail, he means, 'I'm glad.' It's funny, isn't it? You are the first man to talk like us. Oh, sometimes people enjoy me dreadfully, such as the pat on, talking about the damp animals. Damp! Huh! Why, I never myself once who could say good morning in 7 different ways without once opening his mouth. He could talk every language and gay. An old professor with a grey beard bought him, but he didn't stay. He said the old man didn't talk Greek right, and he couldn't stand listening to him teach the language wrong. I often wonder what's become of him. That bird now more geography that people will ever know. People, golly, I suppose if people ever learn to fly, like any common hedge sparrow, we shall never hear the end of it. You're a wise old bird, said the doctor. How old are you really? I know the parrots and elephants sometimes live to be very, very old. I can't never be quite sure of my age, said Polynesia. It's either 183 or 182, but I know that when I first came here from Africa, King Charles was still hiding in the oak tree because I saw him. He looked scared to death.
The fifth chapter, The Great Journey. Now, for 6 whole weeks they went sailing on and on over the rolling sea, following the swallow who flew before the ship to show them the way. At night she carried a tiny lantern so they should not miss her in the dark, and the people on the other ships that passed said that the light must be a shooting star. As they sailed further and further into the south, it got warmer and warmer. Polynesia, Chi-Chi, and the crocodile enjoyed the hot sun no end. They ran about laughing and looking over the side of the ship to see if they could see Africa yet. But the pig and the dog and the owl, too, could do nothing in such weather but sat at the end of the ship in the shade of a big barrel with their tongues hanging out, drinking lemonade. Dab-Dab, the duck, used to keep herself cool by jumping into the sea and swimming behind the ship, and every once in a while, when the top of her head got too hot, she would dive under the ship and come up on the other side. In this way, too, she used to catch herrings on Tuesdays and Fridays, when everybody on the boat ate fish to make the beef last longer. When they got near to the equator, they saw some flying fishes coming towards them, and the fishes asked the parrot if this was Dr. Dolittle's ship. When she told them it was, they said they were glad because the monkeys in Africa were getting worried that he would never come. Polynesia asked them how many miles they had yet to go, and the flying fishes said it was only 55 miles now to the coast of Africa. And another time a whole school of porpoises came dancing through the waves, and they too asked Polynesia if this was the ship of the famous doctor. And when they heard that it was, they asked the parrot if the doctor wanted anything for his journey. And Polynesia said, "Yes, we have run short of onions." "There is an island not far from here," said the porpoises, "where the white onions grow tall and strong. Keep straight on. We will get some and catch up to you." So the porpoises dashed away through the sea, and very soon the parrot saw them again coming up behind, dragging the onions through the waves in big nets made of seaweed. The next evening, as the sun was going down, the doctor said, "Get the telescope, Chi-Chi. Our journey is nearly ended. Very soon we should be able to see the shores of Africa." And about half an hour later, sure enough, they thought they could see something in front that might be land. But it began to get darker and darker, and they couldn't be sure. Then a great storm came up, with thunder and lightning. The wind howled, the rain came down in torrents, and the waves got so high they splashed right over the boat. Presently there was a big bang. The ship stopped and rolled over on its side. "What's happened?" asked the doctor, coming up from downstairs. "I'm not sure," said the parrot, "but I think we're shipwrecked." "Tell the duck to get out and see." So Dab-Dab dived right down under the waves, and when she came up, she said they had struck a rock. There was a big hole in the bottom of the ship. The water was coming in, and they were sinking fast. "We must have run into Africa," said the doctor. "Dear me, dear me! Well, we must all swim to land." But Chi-Chi and Gab-Gab did not know how to swim. "Get the rope," said Polynesia. "I told you it would come in handy. Where's that duck? Come here, Dab-Dab. Take this end of the rope, fly to the shore and tie it onto a palm tree, and we'll hold the other end of the ship here. Then those that can't swim must climb along the rope till they reach the land. That's you will call a lifeline." So they all got safely to the shore, some swimming, some flying, and those that climbed along the rope brought the doctor's trunk and handbag with them. But the ship was no good anymore, with a big hole in the bottom, and presently the rough sea beat it to pieces on the rocks, and the timbers floated away. Then they all took shelter in a nice dry cave they found, high up in the cliffs, till the storm was over. When the sun came out next morning, they went down to the sandy beach to dry themselves. "Dear old Africa," sighed Polynesia. "It's good to get back. Just think, it'll be 169 years to-morrow since I was here, and it hasn't changed a bit. Some old palm trees, same old red earth, same old black ants. There's no place like home." And the others noticed she had tears in her eyes. She was so pleased to see her country once again. Then the doctor missed his high hat, for it had been blown into the sea during the storm. So Dab-Dab went out to look for it, and presently she saw it a long way off, floating on the water like a toy boat. When she flew down to get it, she found one of the white mice, very frightened, sitting inside it. "What are you doing here?" asked the duck. "You were told to stay behind in Puddleby." "I didn't want to be left behind," said the mouse. "I wanted to see what Africa was like. I have relatives here." So I hid in the baggage and was brought onto the ship with the hard tack. When the ship sank, I was terribly frightened because I cannot swim far. I swam as long as I could, but it soon got all exhausted and thought I was going to sink. And then, just at the moment, the old man's hat came floating by, and I got into it because I did not want to be drowned. So the duck took up the hat with the mouse in it and brought it to the doctor on the shore, and they all gathered round to have a look. "That's what you call a stowaway," said the parrot. Presently, when they were looking for a place in the trunk where the mighty mouse could travel comfortably, the monkey Chee-Chee suddenly said, "Shh! I hear footsteps in the jungle." They all stopped talking and listened. And soon a black man came down out of the woods and asked them what they were doing here. "My name is John Dolittle, M.D.," said the doctor. "I have been asked to come to Africa to cure the monkeys who are sick." "You must all come before the king," said the black man. "What king?" asked the doctor, who didn't want to waste any time. "The king of the Jolliginki," the man answered. "All these lands belong to him, and all strangers must be brought before him. Follow me." So they gathered up their baggage and went off, following the man.
The 10th chapter. The rarest animal of all. Pushmi-pulleus are now extinct. That means there aren't any more. But long ago, when Dr. Dolittle was alive, there were some of them still left in the deepest jungles of Africa, and even then they were very, very scarce. They had no tail, but a head at each end and sharp horns on each head. They were very shy and terribly hard to catch. The black men get most of their animals by sneaking up behind them. But you could not do this with the push-me-pull-you, because No matter which way you came towards him, he was always facing you. And besides, only one half of him slept at a time. The other half was always awake and watching. This was why they were never caught and never seen in zoos. Thought many of the greatest huntsmen and the cleverest menagerie keepers spent years of their lives searching through the jungles in all weathers for push-me-pullys. Not a single one had ever been caught. Even then, years ago, he was the only animal in the world who had two heads. Well, the monkeys set out hunting for this animal through the forest, and after they had gone a good many miles, one of them found peculiar footprints near the edge of the river, and they knew that a push-me-pulley must be very near that spot. Then they went along the bank of the river a little way, and they saw a place where the grass was high and thick, and they guessed that he was in there. So they all joined hands and made a great circle round the high grass. The push-me-pulley heard them coming, and he tried hard to break through the ring of monkeys. But he couldn't do it. When he saw that it was no use trying to escape, he sat down and waited to see what they wanted. They asked him if he could go with Dr. Dolittle and be put on show in the land of the white men. But he shook both his heads hard and said, "Certainly not!" They explained to him that he would not be shut up in a menagerie, but would just be looked at. They told him that the doctor was a very kind man but hadn't any money, and people would pay to see a two-headed animal, and the doctor would get rich and could pay for the boat he had borrowed to come to Africa. But he answered, "No, you know how shy I am. I hate being stared at." And he almost began to cry. Then, for 3 days they tried to persuade him, and at the end of the third day he said he would come with them and see what kind of a man the doctor was first. So the monkeys travelled back with the push-me-pulley, and when they came to where the doctor's little house of grass was, they knocked on the door. The duck, who was packing the trunk, said, "Come in!" and Chi-Chi very proudly took the animals inside and showed him to the doctor. "What in the world is it?" asked John Dolittle, gazing at the strange creature. "Lord save us!" cried the duck. "How does it make up its mind?" "It doesn't look to me as though it had any," said Jip the dog. "This, doctor," said Chi-Chi, "is the push-me-pulley, the rarest animal of the African jungles, the only two-headed beast in the world. Take him home with you and your fortune's made. People will pay any money to see him." "But I don't want any money," said the doctor. "Yes, you do," said Dab-Dab the duck. "Don't you remember how we had to pinch and scrape to pay the butcher's bill in Puddleby? And how are you going to get the sailor the new boat you spoke of, unless we have the money to buy?" "I was going to make him one," said the doctor. "Oh, do be sensible!" cried Dab-Dab. "Where would you get all the wood and the nails to make one with? And besides, what are we going to live on? We shall be poorer than ever when we get back. Chi-Chi's perfectly right. Take the funny-looking thing along, do." "Well, perhaps there is something in what you say," murmured the doctor. "It certainly would make a nice new kind of pet. But does the, what do you call it, really want to be abroad?" "Yes, I'll go," said the push-me-pulley, who saw at once from the doctor's face that he was a man to be trusted. "You have been so kind to the animals here, and the monkeys tell me that I'm the only one who will do. But you must promise me that if I do not like it in the land of the white men, you will send me back." "Why, certainly, of course," said the doctor. "Excuse me, surely you are related to the dear family, are you not?" "Yes," said the push-me-pulley, the Abyssinian Jesus of the Asiatic chamans, on my mother's side. My father's great-grandfather was the last of the unicorns. Most interesting, murmured the doctor, and he took a book out of the trunk which Dab-Dab was packing and began turning the pages. Let us see. I notice, said the duck, but you only talk with one of your mouths. Can't the other head talk as well? Oh yes, said the Push-Me-Pull-You, but I keep the other mouth for eating, mostly. In that way I can talk while I'm eating without being rude. Our people have always been very polite. When the packing was finished and everything was ready to start, the monkeys gave a grand party for the doctor, and all the animals of the jungle came. And they had pineapples and mangoes and honey and all sorts of good things to eat and drink. After they had all finished eating, the doctor got up and said, "My friends, I am not clever at speaking long words after dinner, like some men, and I have just eaten many fruits and much honey, but I wish to tell you that I am very sad of leaving your beautiful country. Because I have things to do in the land of the white man, I must go. After I have gone, remember never to let the flies settle on your food before you eat it." And the grand gorilla, who had the strength of 7 horses in his hairy arms, rolled a great rock up to the head of the table and said, "This stone for all time shall mark the spot." And even to this day, in the heart of the jungle, that stone still is here, and monkey mothers, passing through the forest with their families, still point down at it from the branches and whisper to their children, "Shh! There it is! Look! Where the good white man sat and ate food with us in the year of the great sickness." Then, when the party was over, the doctor and his pets started out to go back to the seashore, and all the monkeys went with him as far as the edge of their country, carrying his trunk and bags to see him off.
The 9th chapter. The Monkey's Council. Chi-Chi stood outside the doctor's door, keeping everybody away till he woke up. Then John Dolittle told the monkeys that he must now go back to Puddleby. They were very surprised at this, for they had thought that he was going to stay with them forever. And that night all the monkeys got together in the jungle to talk it over. And the chief chimpanzee rose up and said, "Why is it the good man is going away? Is he not happy here with us?" But none of them could answer him. Then the grand gorilla got up and said, "I think we all should go to him and ask him to stay. Perhaps if we make him a new house and big bed, and promise him plenty of monkey servants to work for him, and to make life pleasant for him, perhaps then he will not wish to go." Then Chi-Chi got up, and all the others whispered, "Shh! Look! Chi-Chi, the great traveler, is about to speak." And Chi-Chi said to the other monkeys, "My friends, I am afraid it is useless to ask the doctor to stay. He owes money in Puddleby, and he says he must go back and pay it." And the monkeys asked him, "What is money?" Then Chi-Chi told them that in the land of the wild man you could get nothing without money. You could do nothing without money, that it was almost impossible to live without money. And some of them asked, "But can you not even eat and drink without paying?" But Chi-Chi shook his head. And then he told them that even he, when he was with the organ grinder, had been made to ask the children for money. And the chief chimpanzee turned to the oldest orangutan and said, "Cousin, surely these men be strange creatures. Who would wish to live in such a land? My gracious, how paltry! Then Chichi said, when we were coming to you, we had no boat to cross the sea in and no money to buy food to eat or our journey. So a man lent us some biscuits, and we said we would pay him when we came back. And we borrowed a bow from a sailor, but it was broken on the rocks when we reached the shores of Africa. Now the doctor says he must go back and get the sailor another boat, because the man was poor and his ship was all he had. And the monkeys were all silent for a while, sitting quiet still upon the ground and thinking hard. At last the biggest baboon got up and said, I do not think we ought to let this good man leave our land till we have given him a fine present to take with him, so that he may know we are grateful for all that he has done for us. And the little tiny red monkey who was sitting up in a tree shouted down, I think that too. And then they all cried out, making a great noise, Yes, yes, let us give him the finest present a white man ever had. Now they began to wonder and asked one another what would be the best thing to give him. And one said, 50 bags of coconuts, and another, 100 bunches of bananas. At least he shall not have to buy his fruit in the land where you pay to eat. But Chichi told them that all these things would be too heavy to carry so far and would go bad before half was eaten. If you want to please him, he said, give him an animal. You may be sure he will be kind to it. Give him some rare animal they have not go in the menageries. And the monkeys asked him, What are menageries? Then Chichi explained to them that menageries were places in the land of the white man where animals were put in cages for people to come and look at. And the monkeys were very shocked and said to one another, These men are like troopless young ones, stupid and easily amused. Shh! It is a prize on the means. So then they asked Chichi what rare animal it could be that they should give the doctor, one the white man had not seen before. And the mayor of the marmositos asked, Have they an iguana over there? But Chichi said, Yes, there is one in the London Zoo. And another asked, Have they only okapi? But Chichi said, Yes, in Belgium, where my organ gringo took me 5 years ago. They had an okapi in a big city they call Antwerp. And another asked, Have they a pushimi polio? Then Chichi said, No, no white man has ever seen a pushimi polio. Let us give him that. This
The Black Prince. By the edge of the river they stopped and said farewell. This took a long time because all those thousands of monkeys wanted to shake John Dolittle by the hand. Afterwards, when the doctor and his pets were going on alone, Polynesia said, We must tread softly and talk low as we go through the land of the Jolly Yankee. If the king should hear us, he will send his soldiers to catch us again, for I am sure he is still very angry over the trick I played on him. What I am wondering, said the doctor, is where we are going to get another boat to go home in. Oh well, perhaps we will find one lying about on the beach that nobody is using. Never lift your foot till you come to the stile. One day, while they were passing through a very thick part of the forest, Chichi went ahead of them to look for coconuts. And while he was away, the doctor and the rest of the animals, who did not know the jungle path so well, get lost in the deep woods. They wandered around and around but couldn't find their way down to the seashore. Chi-Chi, when he could not see them anywhere, was terribly upset. He climbed high trees and looked out from the top branches to try and see the doctor's high hat. He waved and shouted. He called to all the animals by name, but it was no use. They seemed to have disappeared altogether. Indeed, they had lost their way very badly. They had strayed a long way off the path, and the jungle was so thick with bushes and creepers and vines that sometimes they could hardly move at all, and the doctor had to take out his pocket knife and cut his way along. They stumbled into wet, boggy places. They got all tangled up in thick, convolvulus runners. They scratched themselves on thorns, and twice they nearly lost the medicine bag in the underbrush. There seemed no end to their troubles, and nowhere could not they come upon a path. At last, after blundering about like this for many days, getting their clothes torn and their faces covered with mud, they walked right into the king's back garden by mistake. The king's men came running up at once and caught them. But Polynesia flew into a tree in the garden without anybody seeing her and hid herself. The doctor and the rest were taken before the king. "Ha ha!" cried the king. "So you are caught again! This time you shall not escape. Take them all back to prison and put double locks on the door. This white man shall scrub my kitchen floor for the rest of his life." So the doctor and his pets were led back to prison and locked up. And the doctor was told that in the morning he must begin scrubbing the kitchen floor. They were all very unhappy. "This is great nuance," said the doctor. "I really must get to Puddleby. The poor sailor will think I have stolen his ship if I don't get home soon. I wonder if those hinks are loose." But the door was very strong and firmly locked. There seemed no chance of getting out. Then Gab Gab began to cry again. All this time Polynesia was still sitting in the tree in the palace garden. She was saying nothing and blinking her eyes. This was always a very bad sign with Polynesia. Whenever she said nothing and blinked her eyes, it meant that somebody had been making trouble and she was thinking out some way to put things right. People who made trouble for Polynesia or her friends were nearly always sorry for it afterwards. Presently she spied Chi-Chi swinging through the trees still looking for the doctor. When Chi-Chi saw her, he came into her tree and asked her what had become of him. "The doctor and all of the animals have been caught by the king men and locked up again," whispered Polynesia. "We lost our way in the jungle and blundered into a palace garden by mistake." "But couldn't you guide them?" asked Chi-Chi, and began to scold the parrot for letting them get lost while he was away looking for the coconuts. "It was all stupid pig's fault," said Polynesia. "He would keep running off the path hunting for gigarods, and I was kept so busy catching him and bringing him back that I turned to the left instead of the right when we reached the swamp. Shh! Look! There's Prince Bump coming into the garden. He must not see us. Don't move, whatever you do." And there, sure enough, was Prince Bumpo, the king's son, opening the garden gate. He carried a book of fairy tales under his arm. He came strolling down the gravel walk, humming a sad song till he reached a sound seat right under the tree where the parrot and the monkey were hiding. Then he lay down on the seat and began reading the fairy stories to himself. Chi-Chi and Polynesia watched him, keeping very quiet and still. After a while, the king's son laid the book down and sighed very sick. "If I were only a white prince," said he, with a dreamy farewell look on his eyes. Then the parrot, talking in a small, high voice like a little girl, said aloud, Bumpo, someone might turn tree into a white prince perchance. The king soon started up of the seat and looked all around. What is this I hear? He cried. Methought the sweet music of a fairy's silver voice rang from yonder bower. Strange. Worthy prince, said Polynesia, keeping very still so Bumpo couldn't see her. Thou sayest winged words of truth. For this I, Tripstinka, the queen of the fairies, that speak to thee. I am hiding in the rosebud. Oh, tell me, fairy queen, cried Bumpo, clasping his hands in joy. Who is who is it can turn me white? In thy father's prison, said the parrot, there lies a famous wise wizard, John Dolittle by name. Many things he knows of medicine and magic, and mighty deeds he performed. Yet thy kingly father leaves him gazing along and lingering hours. Go to him, brave Bumpo, secretly when the sun has set, and behold, thou shalt by mate the whitest prince that ever won, fair lady. I have sight enough. I must now go back to the fairyland. Farewell, farewell, cried the prince. A thousand thanks, good ship Stinka. And he sat down on the seat again with a smile upon his face, waiting for the sun to set.